engagement of youth pillar. And remember, it's a PESTELS analysis of the youth policy. Now, what PESTELS mean is political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal, and sustainability factors that affect the policy environment or policy implementation. We try to apply that to the domestication of youth policy. And the context is the fact that Gombe State aims to empower youth through education, skills development, and inclusive economic participation, with the targets on the projector. They include things like skills, the almighty capacity building, skills development, employment creation, entrepreneurship, youth in agriculture and ICT. Of course, a lot of the presentation will be hammering on the first one, which is education and capacity building. Of course, it's a work in progress. Remember, what we're here to do is to update the wider group on what we've been doing so far. So we have a broader document, a manuscript, and I'm going to be showing you the manuscript after this presentation. But the summary of what we've worked on so far is under the political, we've perceived threats including weak prioritization of STEM education, at least based on what we can see. Anecdotal encounters with the sector shows that the STEM education still doesn't really have proven commitments to an affirmation of interest in youth being encouraged to participate in STEM education. And also, apparently, there is also anecdotal observations of poor teacher motivation, which discourages STEM education because STEM requires a lot of motivation. High youth unemployment and poverty could be a problem. Sometimes due to economic factors, concentration is a problem in STEM education. But there are opportunities. Despite the challenges, we've seen opportunities, and this includes existing skill centers, which can be utilized. The youth parliament is also another policy forum. Excuse me, water, please. Water, some water. Put one out. Thank you. Yeah, the social and technological challenges include the trend of youth being influenced through social media. And we are not saying that social media is a bad or a good thing. It's an enabler. Whatever it sees, it enables. So if there are bad influences on social media, youth get bad influence. And if there are good influences, then of course there are good influences on social media. You take it. So one challenge is the bad influence on social media that our youth are seeing, because only a few people know that on TikTok there is a place where you can learn chemistry, physics, and mathematics. A few people know about that, but it's on TikTok. But there are also people spreading a lot of bad influence on the same TikTok. Rising use of artificial intelligence and digital tools and limited data protection. This is very important. When you are, surrendering your data to social media companies, that data has a lot of implication. In Nigeria, there is a rule called NDPR, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, which mirrors the GDPR from Europe. But as much as we have the policy, you barely see any of its implementation at state level in Gombe State. But that also needs to happen because it makes our youth vulnerable. They engage in cryptocurrency trading, social media marketing, but then their data goes elsewhere, and that needs to be protected. And that is a social and technological factor that ought to be considered in policy domestication in Gombe State. Opportunities include ICT centers elected by NICDA, digital upskilling that is available even online. Because of social media business, you can learn how to make soap, you can learn trades, you can learn digital marketing, you can learn several things on social media. Environmental and legal factors include the reality of climate change and desertification. Gombe State is one of the states, of course, in the Northeast that is prone to climate change exigencies, and that has to be considered because it tends to affect the capacity of the state to implement certain projects. Remember, climate change is a global policy. Gombe State is always trying to look for money from abroad. But Gombe State is trying to look for money from a source that considers climate change. And certain things cannot be developed because the climate change policy, for example, does not allow further oil exploration, which is one of the few sources of income that Gombe State thinks it's going to leverage on. Lack of domestication of key youth frameworks. But however, we have some opportunities, and this includes green programs. The Gombe Green Initiative, if it can be deepened, it's a very, very good initiative. AgriSal has been planting a lot of trees. I personally have 2 trees planted by AgriSal in my house, and a West Bank as well given to me by AgriSal, free of charge. Someone knocked on my door and gave me. I know now the challenge will be to scale that up include the youth in that kind of initiative. Let's go to the next slide, please. Immediate priority. So we're meant to have the security and sustainability factors under the PESTEL analysis, but because this is just a work in progress, remember, this is not any attempt to like exhaust what we are doing. This is just an example of what we are doing. So way forward include youth-led engagement by strengthening participation in law and policy process in forums such as this, transparency and sustainability through merit-based recruitment and consistent funding within the public sector and even the civil society, digital and green skills by investing in ICT, renewable energy, solar panels. So of course, the youth are the ones driving solar panel installation in our homes. Of course, it's a young person that is also curating this presentation, and climate resilient jobs. My closing note would be the fact that stakeholder collaboration will drive a productive, innovative, and inclusive youth economy in Gombe State. That's it. Feedbacks, please.